Welcome everyone. Let's jump right into this explainer where we're going to demystify the entire process of choosing and perfectly dialing in a protein skimmer for your saltwater aquarium. Now, if you're keeping a reef tank, you already know the deal. A protein skimmer is literally one of the absolute most effective tools you have for pulling dissolved organic compounds right out of your water. But picking the right one out of the hundreds on the market? Yeah, that can feel incredibly overwhelming. So today, we're breaking down the science, the specs, and the setup so you can get exactly what your tank needs. Okay, let's start with the big one. Literally, it's the #1 question every single hobbyist faces when they're staring down a wall of very expensive filtration equipment. You look at all those massive, impressive acrylic cylinders, and it's totally natural to wonder, is the biggest skimmer always the best choice? Like, should I just max out my budget and buy the absolute largest unit I can possibly cram into my cabinet? Well, marketing definitely wants us to buy the biggest one we can afford, right? But the reality here is super interesting. An oversized skimmer can actually massively underperform if it doesn't match your specific waste production. So the myth, bigger is better. The reality, you absolutely have to match the skimmer to your system's actual bioload. Think about it. If a skimmer is just way too large for the amount of organics actually in your water, it literally struggles to build a consistent foam head. And without that foam head, it's not extracting waste efficiently. You just end up with this wildly erratic, frustrating piece of equipment that's practically impossible to tune. One minute, it's overflowing. The next, it's doing absolutely nothing at all. To help you avoid traps like buying an oversized unit, we've put together a checklist for today's explainer. We're breaking this complex choice down into 5 manageable steps. First, sizing and bioload. Second, choosing the right type. Third, specs that actually matter. Fourth, maintenance and reliability. And finally, number 5, tuning for success. Let's get into it. Section 1, sizing and bioload. We're looking at tank volume versus actual waste. You see, those sizing numbers printed on the side of the box, they're usually, well, incredibly optimistic. That's why understanding your unique bioload is an absolute game changer. A box might say rated for 100 gallons, but what does that even mean in the real world? A heavily fed reef needs significantly more skimming capacity than a lightly stocked tank of the exact same volume. You really have to ask yourself, is my 100-gallon tank just housing 2 tiny clownfish, or is it absolutely packed with tangs and corals that need constant heavy nutrition? If you've got a lot of fish, or you're doing heavy routines like broadcast feeding amino acids, you're going to need that extra skimming muscle. On the flip side, if your tank is lightly stocked, a smaller model is actually going to give you much more stable performance. So always remember, water volume is just a number on paper. Bioload is the actual heavy lifting your skimmer has to do.
Moving right along to Section 2, choosing the right type. This is all about matching your space and your workflow.
At the end of the day, the physical constraints of your plumbing and your sump are going to dictate the hardware you choose. You basically got 3 main options. First up, reef-ready in-sump models. These are super popular and for good reason. They offer incredible stability, keep all that noisy, messy equipment totally out of sight, and if they ever overflow, it happens safely inside the sump. Next, we have hang-on-back, or HOB units. These are fantastic if you've got a really tight setup or a smaller display tank with limited plumbing space. Just keep in mind they tend to be a bit less efficient than in-sump models, and yeah, they are sitting right there, fully visible in your living room. And finally, there's external or pressure-rated designs. These are absolute beasts, perfect for massive systems or commercial setups. But you have to be meticulous about confirming compatibility with your plumbing to avoid, catastrophic leaks on your floor. The takeaway here, pick the configuration that actually fits your sump height, your water levels, and your personal daily workflow. All right, Section 3, specs that actually matter. We're going way beyond the basic size rating here.
Okay, it's time to completely ignore the shiny marketing on the box for a second. We really need to focus on the nuance of the actual design. If a product listing only throws one single size number at you, treat that as a starting point, not your final decision. You really want to look for specific physical features, like taller reaction chambers. Why does height matter? Well, a taller chamber increases something called dwell time. That's the exact amount of time those fine little air bubbles spend interacting with your dirty aquarium water. It's so crucial. Better air intake and longer contact time directly improve how those bubbles form, and that gives you consistent, repeatable foam production day after day, which means the skimmer is actively pulling out proteins before they even have a chance to break down into nasty nitrates and phosphates. Ultimately, you want a model that settles quickly, so you want constantly tinkering with the water level every single day.
Next is Section 4, maintenance and reliability. Let's talk pumps and parts. Because, look, you want a gorgeous, stable reef, not a second job, right? Honestly, even the greatest, most insanely expensive skimmer in the world is gonna underperform if it's a nightmare to clean.
The neck of a protein skimmer constantly builds up this thick, greasy sludge, and if you just leave it there, it completely tanks your performance. If you have to practically dislocate your shoulder to get the collection cup off, or you need a screwdriver set just to clean the inside, let's be real, you're just not going to do it. So when you're looking at the design, prioritize things that make routine tasks a breeze. I'm talking straightforward disassembly, those awesome bayonet-style twist locks, and smooth inner surfaces that don't trap gunk. Those details are absolutely vital for your sanity and your long-term success.
And we can't forget about the heart of the system, the pump. This thing is running 24/7, so quality is a massive factor. You got to think about the energy draw, how loud it is, and most importantly, what happens when it breaks, because pumps do fail. If your skimmer uses some highly proprietary pump, you need to verify right now that you can actually get a replacement part locally or at least from a super reliable supplier. Trust me on this one. A dead pump on an obscure skimmer means zero filtration while you wait 3 weeks for a specialized part to ship from overseas. If you're in the middle of a nasty algae outbreak or a huge bioload spike, a month without a skimmer could literally be the difference between a thriving reef and a total system crash.
Finally, Section 5, Tuning for Success. Let's learn how to dial it in correctly.
All right, we've reached the execution phase. We are plugging this thing in, and you're about to learn why patience is actually your most valuable piece of equipment. Dialing a skimmer in is a very specific step-by-step process. First, install it exactly as directed for your specific sump depth. Then you wait. It's the dreaded break-in period. See, brand new skimmers usually have these leftover manufacturing oils on the acrylic that have to wash off before they can even form a proper foam head. That can take anywhere from a couple of days to a full week. Once it breaks in, that's when you start making tiny, incremental adjustments to your air or water valves. Make a small tweak and then just monitor it. This is incredibly critical if you're doing any carbon dosing, like ethanol or vodka, which completely changes your water chemistry and bacteria levels. The golden rule here: make an adjustment, walk away, and check it again tomorrow. If your skimmer is just constantly overflowing or on the flip side making absolutely zero foam, you're probably looking at a flow, water level, or air intake issue. But whatever you do, please do not chase maximum liquid volume just for the sake of it. I see so many hobbyists tune their skimmer to pull out gallons of this wet, watery liquid just so they feel like it's quote-unquote working. That is a huge mistake. All that does is cause rapid salinity drops and really unstable parameters. What you actually want is a steady, super dark, totally foul-smelling dry foam that just slowly creeps up into the cup. Give your system time to stabilize after any feeding changes, and always aim for consistent, controlled collection over the long haul.
There's a quote from our source material that I absolutely love, and it perfectly captures the payoff of doing all this correctly. A steady, set and monitor part of your reef system, rather than a recurring troubleshooting project. That's the dream, right? When you perfectly match your bioload, pick the right physical design, get a reliable pump, and really exercise patience during tuning, the skimmer just fades into the background. It becomes this invisible workhorse, day in and day out, quietly protecting your tank without constantly demanding your attention.
So I'm going to leave you with a thought to help you reevaluate your own setup today. Go look at your tank. Honestly ask yourself, is your current filtration a seamless set and monitor ecosystem, or is it a troubleshooting nightmare that just stresses you out? Because if it's the latter, I really hope this explainer gave you the exact tools you need to rethink your filtration and make the perfect upgrade. Making the right choice right out of the gate is going to save you money, time, and literally endless frustration down the line. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me today. Now go take a closer look at the equipment running beneath your reef. What is it really doing for you?